Yeah. Hey, we're doing it.
That's for the public.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be efficient here and I'm just creating problems. But that's nothing new.
I gotta get together. All right, call meeting in order. Roll call, Jill, please.
Sure. All right, Chair Lloyd,
Here.
Laura, Finley Park, Larry Anderson, Heather Huss. Yep. Ingrid Kohler. Yep. Sue Springborn. She had an email. I was not sure she was covered. Nancy Thornton here. Sarah Duranta here. Artie Alvarez. And Tim.
There's already.
There's Artie. Okay. Oh, there's one.
Okay, we got a quorum, yay. Adopt agenda motion.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion second.
I'll second.
The other second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Approval of the minutes, January 26th. Motion.
I make a motion.
Nancy motion, second. Ingrid, second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Open forum. We're going with Kathy first, or we're gonna run with? Are you gonna be a while? Are you gonna be very long?
No,
Do you mind if we go?
That's fine.
Let's go with the arts. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. You're on.
all right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us back. I'm Tom Sonic, and this is,
Carrie Neto.
and we are from the Arts and Culture Commission. And we wanted to come back to see you because we have a thing that we're gonna get going. So we are really trying to kick it in gear and get a few projects moving for this year. And one of them that we're looking to do is bring back the craft wagon. I think there are people here who have some experience with craft wagon. Apparently this thing is still in existence. It lives over at the Public Works, and we're gonna try and resurrect it and start bringing it out and about as for one way to bring art and arts into the public sphere a little bit more. So we're thinking about bringing this into some of the car shows this summer, having it ready for that. So there could be some activities available for both kids and adults at the car shows. And it's another opportunity for us to kind of spread the word that we're here and we're looking for things to do and how we're going to find things in the city, get some feedback from people. And then another thing that we're hoping to do is bring it back to what it did originally, which was to have the parks for kids. Like I mean, when I was a kid, I walked out to Casey Park and went to the craft wagon. We all just think that would be there. I don't know. And we made stuff. It was great. It was just this thing that happened. And so we're looking at how to bring that back in that original form as well. And that's where we wanted to just kind of connect with all of you to just build awareness about that and also maybe some alignment. So we see this. We were talking in our last meeting about potentially having it out there at the same time when music in the park is happening, for example. So then the adults can sit there with a glass of wine and enjoy the band while the kids are, making a paper airplane or something. So, what I missed anything, Jerry? Okay. So we're here just to kind of raise that awareness with you and see if there's anything that we can do to coordinate with you. Is there anything we should know about? Is it okay if we use your parks?
The ones we own.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
too. I think if you need any of the dates,
Coordinate with the music in the park. I have those set up for the summer, so
Oh, great.
exchange emails or,
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
that'd be great.
I think the one thing I would suggest too is just maybe deciding if you guys have a limit of like number of kids at a time. So, I mean, with our experience with park events, especially, sometimes you can get inundated with a lot of people. So just maybe prepare for a lot, also with supplies and stuff. I think the car show too, is very little for kids to do now that that green space is gone. But I would just say my only advice would be like prepare for a lot, because I think you're going to get a lot of excitement about the craft wagon being back, and just maybe decide how you want to manage that crowd and whether you can't contain it in the wagon itself and if you have to set up other stages. And that's the only thing from our egg hunt and street trails. It just always ends up being like 10,000 times more people than we expect.
You also don't want really complex activities, because anything you have to like teach is not gonna happen.
Right.
So whatever you want is you want adults floating around, and then you want something that's relatively self-explanatory with examples, like if you have tables or whatever, you probably want like 10, 20 examples so people can look at it when they're making it, so they don't have to find people they don't know.
Do you guys have like a cadre of volunteers that you can?
I was
just gonna say,
We do, we have used like ROTC and National Honor Society at North High, and then the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts in the area have also offered. I know there's a troop that does the trick or treat trail that has offered their kids, their Girl Scouts, to be part of like the helpers for things like that. And there's another group like
The churches.
She said high schoolers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it working well, having a couple floaters, a couple of young, high school age kids floating around and helping everybody with their project.
Charging anything or was?
No, I don't think so. Oh, thank you. Great. So we had some money allocated in the budget for the Arts and Culture Commission. It seems like that would be best suited for things like this, just for cost of materials for the craft. Like, this would be a recurring thing, whereas a lot of the other projects are a lot more money, and we're gonna have to raise funds elsewhere for those things. So,
Well, come back to us. You know how the process works. I don't have to train you in on that. It'll take a little bit, but you always come to us. See what we have, and we can send it up the line.
we also, we have one sponsor that always sponsors the egg hunt and things like that we haven't had, and he said he's more than happy to sponsor events, Gallagher Financial. So if you're looking for a sponsor, I think we might have some names of people who might for sure be willing to give monetary donations. And I know Target will also, if you go in, will give sometimes like for nonprofits, they'll give like a $50 gift card, or they'll give waters, or they'll give something in the sense that like, not that you want to go to every single place, but I know for sure Gallagher had mentioned that to me, that he's like, is it you guys do the egg hunt? If we don't have it, maybe the trick or treat trail. And he's like, yeah, I'll sponsor that. Like he just like ready, I think he sponsors the food shelves. But there are some local businesses that I think are happy to sponsor their name on that.
Timber Grove.
And I've gone to. They usually have you fill out a one-page thing.
sure.
And you want to do that like at the beginning of the year or well in advance of when you want the funds. If it's gonna be a big thing like we are targeting.
I've never seen this wagon before. Can you briefly describe, like, is it literally a wagon?
Nancy, can you
Is it a
Well,
closed
it's-
trailer?
Yeah, I would call it more of a trailer. I think it was more wooden structure, if I remember right, because I painted it, we painted it one year.
Yeah,
characters
like
and
the
stuff.
sides
Side,
open
yes.
up, and then kids sit
Yep.
at like a counter.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was a
it's like an
big
enclosed trailer.
window that
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
up.
mhm.
But this was a good shape. The old one was a trailer,
Oh, so that's what I'm thinking of.
went through something a lot better.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
whatever happened to the old one. That was, they were just well.
So I
That's-
don't know
that's
if
the one that I
the new one.
This
is-
one is.
The metal one has like an opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
Really
food
solid
construction
shell.
truck.
Oh,
Yeah.
We usually
It's
see it.
past 1975, I don't know.
And I worked on it in the late seventies, so it was the wooden one that I was.
They were
familiar
still using the old one into the early eighties.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I think you should really
Yeah, I
capitalize
remember
on this
that.
nostalgia, capitalize on it for advertising it, because I heard about this thing a lot, and I didn't grow up here, but my husband's family must have, you know, his siblings
Yeah,
must have
it's
played,
a big
you know, done
deal.
it. And so I would capitalize on that nostalgia a little bit, I don't know, pictures or, you know. And one thing I was thinking too was, it kind of aligns nicely with the parks, because you could have it be somewhat unpredictable, like where is it gonna pop up next month? You know, and then advertise it well enough in advance, but then it could highlight a different park each month.
Yeah.
If that works, I don't know if it's easier to just stay at the same park, but the idea of bringing families to all of these parks that they might not even be aware of.
Yeah.
Is kind of
We really want it to be at several different parks, not at the same one, because, like, you know, for me, when I was a kid, you just walk through it. You know, so at least it's gonna show up and walk.
Kathy, you something like that work with.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be great,
Mhm.
and I have contacts with the early childhood, and I could let them know, they just switched people, so I got a new person. We were gonna try to do something in May, but their May is so full that we're going to go back to the fall program.
At Southwood.
That
Oh,
sounds
okay,
good with
good.
them. But I was just gonna say, but I could get in contact with this gal and let her know it's happening. And,
Yeah.
because we had like 75 people come this last fall, and the year before, I think it was 150.
Wow, good.
Do you all remember Polar Explorers when the partner?
Yes,
During them, and that's where, it sounds really similar to that, where during the day, we would meet from like 10 to 12 at different parks in the area. We would bring, or community ed would bring activities for families to do, and then after they did the activities, they played on the playground together, and in each event, they got had like a passport. So we had 5 events, and then there were different stamps at each event, and if they collected all of the 5 stamps, they got a hat at the end, and I think we had like 200 people come every time. So if you wanted, like, I'd be happy to give you that curriculum and that branding and whatever, if that would be helpful. Because that's something that we were doing and we're gonna continue to do, but the pandemic happened.
Yeah, that was really tough.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And that was a partnership with early childhood and with Kathy as well.
And the state parks did a thing like that too, right? The passport.
Yep.
With our demographics changing, you want to consider a variety of things at each park,
Yeah,
whatever that means.
right. Yeah, I know, that's the thing that we're really sensitive to, because, you know, for those of us who did grow up here, and there are a lot of old timer type people from in North St. Paul, and we think about all the old days, but, you know, there are a lot of people here, who those old days don't apply for them. You know, it's, we want to kind of, you know, honor the old and bring in the new at the same time. So,
I don't know if you all have talked to the school districts, but or they have liaison or parent commissions within the school district that are representative of some of our larger people of color populations, like the Hmong Parent Commission and the Latino Parent Commission. That's not the right word, I'm forgetting. Do you remember what it's
I
called?
know, but I know.
Council
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And it's usually there's like 15 to 20 parents who identified within that group, and then they help to steer the school board and the school district on how we can continue to make our activities more inclusive.
Yeah.
And they were just local community members, so
Yeah.
that might be a good partnership.
that's
for
great.
you all.
Yeah, I didn't know. of those.
and the idea of being able to do different things in different parks is really intriguing to me too. Because those kids loved hiking, and it's only a half mile.
Mhm.
So even the 4 and 5-year-olds could do it easily. And I remember one little boy who drug his parents around to the time. And he would like to have gone ahead, and mom just said, you know. So the idea of even doing something different at different parks should be fun.
This is all
guys
awesome
are
feedback,
amazing.
yeah.
Well-
And, you know, just thinking about things to be aware of, which is, you brought up some of those things, too, which is really helpful for us to know, so. you know, we're just-
Well, we're here for you.
Thanks, we appreciate it, because I think this, you know, craft wagon is saying that we're, okay, this is doable, it's not gonna cost a ton of money, we can make this happen. Then we're looking at some other things, so we're trying to push forward with the mural on Love Ice Cream, so we're working with Susanna there and trying to see how we can get the funding and artists to make that happen, so.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Steps forward there, some other things that we're looking at, but about to get a few things done this year, just to kind of get our feedback.
Do one at Casey for sure between Monday and Friday during the day, and then just Auburn and take her kids too. I'll leave with you guys for a while. I live on the north side of the Casey Lake, so that'd be
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, yep, that would be awesome.
Nice.
One thing, I don't know if y'all have thought about this, but as you do events, you want like t-shirts that brand you
Oh,
and your volunteers, or even like those like vests that they can throw on,
Yeah,
because everybody looks the same. So
yeah.
Yeah, we got bright green shirts.
Oh, okay. Well, you get like.
It's-
Just a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Little snowman with the lines. And then there's the volunteer on the back.
Oh, but it doesn't say parks on it?
I think it says.
Yeah,
it's a
it
little
does,
logo.
it
Oh, okay.
does.
Yeah, that's the staff.
but if your people aren't gonna necessarily be the same people, you might want to do the best thing, because then anybody can wear them.
There used to be, I think the vests are actually in the craft trail, because we gave them to
Oh,
yeah, the last one we had.
Trigger trails, yeah.
We, well, before the egg hunt, I'm thinking the egg hunt, so people went and hit the eggs, like they had little orange vests.
Yeah.
He dropped them, but I think then we shoved it all back to the trailer. There's actually probably a ton of eggs in that trailer. We got through the
So
eggs.
do some sort of egg craft.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you. Excited.
Any other questions?
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
You can stay for the excitement.
I have,
All of these?
No, there's a-
just let me know which one you
We're
want.
not
to
gonna
look at.
No, that's
Oh,
fine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have the budget,
Okay. budget.
All right,
I have the expense, and then I have here. So we
Okay,
were
well, why don't we
just-
start with a report
My,
about what we've done?
here's my- Here's my thought. Let me know if you're okay with this. Since Kathy's on two parts of the agenda. You want to just do your update and the
Yeah.
budget, will that blend into it?
Oh, yeah,
And then after that, we can discuss the paving and trails issue.
right,
Okay, let's just keep that if
Right.
we can separate, because I think that's gonna be a bit longer discussion.
yes,
Okay,
I think so
thank you.
too.
Okay.
Well, it's so nice to see everybody. I mean, it's been so weird for 2 years, and I tell you, I pretty much was confined to my house. And so it's been nice to get out, and I was thinking, gosh, we're not getting anything done, and then I wrote the report, and then I went, did you guys have a chance to read it?
Yeah.
No, okay, well, I'll just go over it pretty quickly then. The biggest issue is that we've lost 3 of our people, our task force people, because they moved out of the area. So that's always been a struggle. So there's really only 3 of us that are working on this now. The fire department was really good during the first year, during 2020, because of the pandemic, because it had just started, they couldn't do any burning because they just didn't have enough staff. And then last year, we had it all set up, and then it rained all day. So we haven't been able to do that. Public Works is really, they are so good. I let them know right away when it goes down, and they're out there taking care of it. The real sad thing is I found emerald ash borer this past year. In fact, it was in my own tree that I just had taken out in my own house. So that it's kind of started in the north end, Josh said, and it's all the way down. I'm in the south end now. So we'll be losing some trees. The crew did plant some bare root hackberry trees, which is a real good resource for birds. They're small, so it's gonna take a while for them to come up. And then Public Works, Brian's been able to do a little bit of mowing because I'm so short on people. Plus, I have a lot of people who are still uneasy working together with groups of people. So I just did what I could. I said, can you just go mow it once? Because then that took care of some of the seeding. Some of the trails were in need of wood chips, and we did work it out. I was able to get a special deal with Ramsey County Corrections. I know Sean. And so we were able to get 100 yards brought out and got that put on. He pretty much doesn't want it sitting there over winter, so we were able to get a really good deal. Weren't really able to complete everything that needed to be done because the work they did off of Margaret Street, they just destroyed that trail. And so we had to use a lot of chips to rebuild that area, which wasn't something that would have been needed otherwise. Minnesota Native Landscapes is still really good. They will come in. I give them a call. I keep an eye on what's going on. I give them a call, and then they bring their crew out to work on invasive plants. And it comes out. They come out about 3 times a year. Is what it turns out. Conservation Corps, first year 2020, they had trouble getting enough people to do stuff, so we weren't even able to get anybody to come out. And last year we got a couple of people that were able to come out, but we really need 5 people at a time in order to get further through. But at least were able to address it some. And then Robbie Seville, and you probably saw that in the North St. Paul, that weekly thing, that he did the project of Chimney Swift Towers. So I'm really excited to see if we get some Chimney Swift. Because we lost Burwald's chimney and Richardson's chimney. That was the 2 areas where we had Chimney Swifts. So I'm looking real forward to see that we can get some. I think I mentioned that the pandemic has affected the ability of our volunteers. When I was in contact with the ROTC, David told me, I have 3 kids, Kathy. We're not going to be able to do anything. I'm hoping that's changing this year, but I talked to the mayor. He said, Kathy, please get them involved again because they are required to have a certain number of people in the program. And if they don't get that, if they don't get it built back up again, they're going to lose the program. So that's kind of what the ROTC. Yeah. So I'm going to get in contact with them again for this year. Since kids are back in school, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get them back in again. And a couple of my volunteers that aren't here anymore did do some garlic mustard. Gap had done it in the past, but weren't able to do it. And then I had some students from the AIM program that's here in North St. Paul. I'd worked with them through Watershed because I'm still working with Watershed. And so I had like 5 kids. And, a couple of those kids, I mean, I'd hire them in a minute to come and work. And then St. Mark's Evangelical Lutheran Church also came out and did some work with us. And John Lampy's continued to do volunteer work with the Japanese knotweed. Man, it's just such a plant, just struggling. So this year we went out in the fall and we actually dug around to get to the corn part that's underground and treated it that way to see if we could get some of those really tough ones yet.
Are we getting any progress seriously?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Oh, yes. I mean, it was like 3 acres before. And now, huh?
It's been about what, 10, 12 years they've been.
Oh,
playing
at
this stuff.
least, because you were in that first
Oh,
group.
gosh. Yeah,
I think it was like 2008.
yeah. So we're looking probably about 14 years. of it. Like,
Yeah. So it's really a nasty plant as far as difficult. And you don't just go and pull it because it grows 20 feet underground. And that's why we're trying this other technique. Everything else had been bend it, treat it. And I was doing it in the spring and John was doing it in the fall. So we said, let's try this year. So we'll see. Yes, we are making progress.
Great.
And, there's an occasional large one, but when you're walking through there, it's so easy to miss stuff, especially when stuff starts growing up. But yes, we are making progress.
Looks good.
Okay, and so the Nelsons and Vic have continued to work in the Oak Savannah. And then I've been just doing all these other little odds and ends, following with checking the salt level that's in that area. I wrote a grant for native bee nesting box, and it did get used. In fact, I just got a message. They said, we want to know how many of the little tubes got filled. And I said, why didn't you tell me 2 months? I didn't have to go through the snow to look, but and I did do a winter trail activity last year, which I had several people say it was really interesting. They really enjoyed it. It helped them identify trees in winter. And then I also did a couple of bingos this year. So basically, and then the family nature walk, that's been the big thing that we started last year. Laura got me hooked up with them, and it's been a real fun project. They have lots of teachers who like to come out, which is good because the 2 people who volunteer with me both work during the day. And well, I do too, but I can say, I need to stay off. And they're not in that situation. But it's fun watching the kids, and they're so excited. And it also is letting people know that we're there. There are so many people that don't know that we're there. So the budget itself.
Gabby, can I ask one?
Yeah, you can ask a question.
One question. On the north end.
On the north end.
Where they took out all the trees that were falling down. A bunch of trees.
Oh, Josh, I haven't looked at it.
Okay, I
Josh,
had called because there's several trees
that were hanging.
they were hanging, so
Yes.
it's clear.
Yes.
Can you get back to me and let me know what some colorful stuff we're thinking about dogwood back there?
Oh, dogwood would be beautiful.
Okay.
That can be,
So we'll just, if you don't mind, we'll just go out and get it ourselves and plant it.
as long as you don't get variety, a variety. You want to get a native plant, like you want to get a native red.
Okay. Yeah, that's what
Or
we're
you want to
thinking.
get a goat.
Okay.
You want to stick with native, not the cultivars. There's the word. I lost the word there. You don't want a cultivar, because what they're finding is that a lot of insects and birds are not using them as readily. So what we want to do is we want to put in stuff that are wildlife.
Will it work with the acidity back there? Because I don't know how much acidity there is going to be from that pine needle.
Oh, from the pine stuff?
I'll shoot you an email. Can we correspond? And
Yeah, well, we should probably look at it in the spring
okay,
too.
okay, let's do that.
Once
then.
we get stuff, because I know there's some red twig dogwood there now.
Yeah.
That your wife
Yes.
planted a few years ago.
There's one by Peterson's old spot, and then there's one right up by where my shed is now.
Oh, okay.
And now they're starting to take off nice.
Okay. But we can look at that now. Because I've got other ones that are running through my head, but we should check
Okay.
and see what the soil, it's gonna have to do with sunlight at this point.
There's what.
That's why I want to look at it.
Good, okay,
That's
sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, so any other questions? So after I did this, I felt a little better because I felt like, oh yeah, I did get things going. But it just felt frustrating because I personally want to do more education stuff. But when I'm doing what I call more maintenance and making sure things get done, I don't have the time to put into more education stuff. Okay, so with the budget, now you'll notice with the proposal, like I said, so in 2020, we didn't do any buffer removal. So a lot of the money I didn't use it in the budget. And then last year, I don't think I used quite as much as this. I pulled out the wrong one. So if I have it in front of my face, here we go. Yeah, 1,500. So So the amount I put in here would be the amount that we could use if I got full crews from the Conservation Corps, but I didn't, so I didn't use it. So it's saved in the budget. And the prairie maintenance, we expanded some so that like by you, Lloyd, that area, we've been having them treat that area and then also treat the area just on the other side of that utility road. And we've been having them, there've been a couple of places where that crown vetch has gotten in that I had. But what I've done is I directed them right to where the spots are, so they don't have to spend a lot of time searching. So I try to help with cutting down on costs by letting them know where they need to go. The Earth Day cleanup, we actually talked about some doing, trying to do that this year with the ROTC. And so I am hoping that these 3 activities that we've done, have not done the past 2 years. I'm hoping we can do it this year. And we have found though, we don't get a lot of people from the community coming out. We're really more dependent on the high school kids coming out. They're a little more consistent. And then the wood chips I only put in here because we had to take care of that Margaret Trail. Otherwise I wouldn't have put it in. So basically what we're doing is we're been laying chips like every 3 years. And it was, what was it? 1,100, and that was for 100. And so he was charging us $9 a yard instead of $20 a yard, which is what Public Works was saying. So I think that we're keeping our costs down for there. But so that was our recommendation on a budget proposal. We added on the wood chips, and it was mainly because of that. We had to use so many on that one trail that got damaged off of Market Street.
Did the 1,300 go back? Do you stay with you, or does it just go back into the office? Do we know? The extra?
It just stays. It just stays in your stuff.
In the
Because
city stuff, okay.
Because it doesn't, well, park stuff, because it doesn't roll back into our stuff for the following year. No, it goes back. Except it was a little different for 2021 because of the issues we had. Yeah. So my understanding is some of it came out of the Public Works, and I think that communications kind of took care of, the snacks that we bought and the water that we got. I think it kind of got divvied out that way. But we didn't use anywhere near that amount of leeway. So are there any questions about that?
So the wood chips, that's only for a small amount of wood chips. That seems like a reasonable number compared to what we were hearing before. So is that because it's
Definitely. Well, part of it's because we got a good deal. And part of it is I'm not chipping everything. I walk out and I look at, okay, what needs it? What really needs it? Because I don't want it really thick on there. It's harder to walk. And you all know I have a crappy back, and so I don't want it thick. I just want it, to keep us up off of the mud a little bit, help with erosion. I like the softness. Well, and one other thing is I wanted to go with the double chipped wood chips rather than the cheap stuff that we've gotten for free before, and it was difficult to walk on, and I had all sorts of people complaining about it, and I wouldn't walk on it because I was afraid I was going to trip. So I think the best thing has been to go with getting a better chipped product, and then just address the areas that really need it. And that's what what's the guy in Public Works, I just lost his name, Ron.
From,
Suggested, Kathy, what we could do is we could just do a little bit every year, and I'm going, I don't know that we need to do it every year, but we probably need to do it every other year. And if I can keep it at around $1,000, I don't think that's a terrible expense.
I mean, we must have been talking about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was such a-
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
that was for 500 yards instead of 100 yards. And I had talked to Public Works about, I don't want it spread that thick, which I think has worked.
So, any questions with the budget? We could make a motion, yep,
I make a motion to approve the Southwood budget for 2022 for $7,000, up to $7,000.
second,
I'll second.
other second, any more discussion?
Did you say you want to talk about the page trail? or-
I'm gonna, we'll do that separately.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we're talking money, let's have a show of hands, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Now goes to the city council.
Okay, all right. And I have one question before we move to the
Okay,
trail.
go ahead.
So part of all of this confusion that happened was Deborah Gustafson in 2019 said, Kathy, I want the budget in May so we can present it in June because we're changing when we're presenting this. So I don't know if that's still the truth or not, or if it's changed, or if I'm still supposed to be doing it at the end of the year for next year.
I would say do it. We could stick it on February if everybody's okay with that.
Well, I think she's saying like in regards to when, like, it would, to me, makes more sense to do it before spring so you can actually do stuff. But is there, Jill, do you know if there's a time of year when like, when does the city finance roll over, like the fiscal year?
Typically, it's like they decide at the end of the year. That's how it's.
Okay, so it's like.
It's at the end of the year. Okay, because I was
December
wondering
31st
if,
is- Okay.
I wondered if it had changed to July or something, and that's why Deborah was having me do it. Okay, that's the question then. Okay.
We'll be good with like, keep coming back every February
Or January.
or
Yeah.
January, depending on what fits in there.
Yeah.
Because I think we can get it passed soon enough to where you can get. the
Right, because
next year.
I don't really do that much in January and February.
Okay.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure I understood
And
correctly.
she may have been doing that in July to get ready for the end of the year for next year. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know, but I tell you, it's hard for me, and I have to be honest, I don't know if everybody's prices are going up. I mean, all my prices
Yeah,
for my
yeah,
food and my
yeah.
utilities and everything else, I didn't put that in the year. So, but I'm not gonna ask for anything more, but I'm just saying that might be a factor.
You remember what the process was, other than we had to go to the city council to turn that thing into a nature preserve and why we did it? Other than what I got from WSB and the gentleman. They don't-
Well,
Well, it
no,
was the
to
park
change,
until
yeah, until like
Southwood Park until like.
2007 or 2008, I think that
Yep.
David Nelson was involved in, and this was before I was really super involved. I mean, I was just met people and at that point in time. And I think that he was just saying, this is a different area. I think that we need to talk about this a little bit more. And I think that's when it happened. But I'm sure that it happened after I finished the Master Naturals program, which was in 27. So it may have been 28 when he actually.
Jill sent me some info, some background info on it. As far as somebody had did some research. This one here,
I found out.
Oh, yeah,
Other
I
history
got
was-
all that. That was even earlier, I think.
Yeah,
Does that one have preserve on it? Or does it have park?
So that's what was-
located.
It's part, it says part.
It's park.
It's kind of the history of what
Yeah.
we were supposed to kind of keep it with.
Wasn't it the Burwald land? It was their.
It
farm.
was, yeah.
And I think based on things like this, So, oh, and I remember too, we were concerned about way back in the, I think it was like early 2000s, maybe before that, they want some towers in there. Well, radio towers.
Oh, and there was also a concern about, was the city gonna sell off some of that land that could have a house on it?
And I think another thing was the city needed more ecological space.
Oh,
Remember that? too?
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, that would have been before my time then. But yeah, I have that whole set at home of all the
It's
parks.
protected by federal law governing designated open space area.
And a lot of it is protected because of watershed.
Oh,
Because see, once they changed and had watershed districts, then that land kind of became part of the watershed.
Okay.
And that all came from, it started out that the counties were being responsible, but if you look at all the watershed stuff, it goes across county lines, and they were fighting over who was gonna pay for what. And that's why they went to watershed.
Kathy, do you think the name was changed too for grant possibilities?
No.
No, it wouldn't matter if it was
No.
a park or a nature reserve.
But I think it's important to look at it just a little different than a park.
Yeah, because it is
'Cause
very
it is.
different from our
that's
other
why I
parks.
went to the whole loop. Yeah, remember?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dave,
Okay, that answered my question though about the budget stuff, because I was just rather confused.
No, I think if everybody's okay with.
And if it's different, you'll let me know. okay?
January and February, we'll get a hold of you before that.
Oh, yeah. Because by then I would, because we're still doing work in October and November. Oh, no, I have this at home. I've got the what,
Anybody else want to take a look at it?
I've got it for all of the parks. Do you have the whole thing? Do you have
I just-
all of the parks?
Just randomly found some. Well, maybe, yeah, it's the whole book.
Yeah, it's a whole booklet. Yeah, you have it. Okay.
All right. Would you open up Paving Trails? And then I'll open it up to a discussion and where your task force is on Paving Trails. And we'll open it up to discussion with you. And the effects and whether nature preserves should have paved trails and so forth.
So you want me to start instead of you
Yes.
guys talking about what you are thinking?
I'd like to get your opinion first before we.
Well, but I don't want to influence you.
Well, I can start, like, we had a conversation about this because I know that a couple of meetings back, we talked about the possibility of paving the trails at Southwood because wood chips, when we were initially talking, like, the reference were getting really expensive.
Yeah.
We also talked about the new long-term, with our park improvement plan. As much as you would like to be, you're not getting any younger. And you need people to be stewards of this park. And I don't know if we're gonna find people who care about Southwood as deeply as you do. And so I don't want it to be a thing like a community garden where as soon as the champion goes away, it's completely in disarray. That's been my experience with community gardens. Like we just basically lost it all. So I frequent Southwood on a regular basis. I have small kids. I know early childhood uses it on a regular basis. I think about the different demographics that are coming into our town. Young families are moving in. So how can we continue to have Southwood be something that's prominent and something that people are using on a regular basis that people know about, like we're talking. And so I think having a conversation about paving the trails and the longevity of the park is something that we should do.
Okay.
You
So
think that
I
would contribute to the being a long-term sort of thing.
I am pro paving the trails because I think it will increase our usability. It will definitely get more people out there in the winter because it's basically impossible to walk out there in the winter with little kids. And I think it would take some of the maintenance off your back. And that would allow you to do the thing that you're actually passionate about, which is like education. So how can we continue to build that park into being something that is utilized? And I know that we have dabbled with the fact of like can we do some natural play elements in there so that we can get families in there using it as well? And if we do that, I would encourage us to think about taking some of it for accessibility for everyone.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna go on with, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I
right
was
now?
curious, because we go on it all the time. We're right by you.
Yeah,
Go on it.
yep.
Gail goes on it all the time.
I see her sitting on the bench,
Yeah.
staring at the water on
Yeah,
a regular
yeah.
basis.
And so I wanted to understand, because in my mind, I'm like, I like it more natural, but my health and physical abilities, do a lot of winter hikes, can't be where you drag heavy stuff, so to me, it's like, oh, it's trail. But yeah, other people and small kids don't know a lot of stuff, so I didn't think of that, so I want more information on why something.
For me too, I think we brought this up years ago, Cal.
And I brought that information.
And my thought was that if we paved the main loop and then you left the nature portions of it, the offshoots, like still, obviously it still maintains maintenance, but at that time I had
Yeah.
kids in strollers and I couldn't use the park because the chips
Yeah.
were too jumbly. And like, so as a mom,
It's harder.
when I have the time off and can walk my kid around, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least with none of my 3 kids could I use the park, and we never did until they were old enough to walk through it. But for me, it was always more of the maintenance thing when the money was coming, and we were always supportive of it. But the problem is to spend that much money, and the other pressure we're getting from the city council is accessibility and wood chips. I
They're not
mean,
accessible.
they're technically accessible in a playground situation, but in a walking trail, they aren't. And so
Well, that's not true. And I'll need to talk about that. Because I had a teacher at the Maplewood Middle School who had a scooter, and I had her come over specifically to try the trail. And with the chips that we're using now, she was able to get around all over with no problem. But why don't I talk a little bit about some ideas?
Yeah.
Because I think maybe that's what we need to do. We need to look at some ideas.
And is it appropriate in a nature preserve? My side would be, it wouldn't be, but I'm open to just the watershed and so forth.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is part of the overall problem is we're so small. We're only 28 acres. If we were 200 acres, I'd jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, let's go ahead and put a trail in. But I think that the 3 people that are on the task force right now don't really want to see a trail go in,
A paved
a
trail.
paved trail go in. But one of the ideas that I have is that I see a lot of people who like walking along the road. And what I would like to see, because this would really help with our accessibility, is a sidewalk on that side of Parkway all the way up to the north end. Because that would give accessibility for people to see some of the park and be able to go in a little ways if they want to. And like I said, you're right. The strollers with the small wheels won't work. They never will work. But you can, at least with a stroller, even those small wheeled strollers, get up on that overlook. One of the things about paving is it's going to create some problems. And I just want to pull out the information. And this is from 2016. So this is when Keith came back with the cost estimates. And he said $74,000 for rock, which I think we all decided was not a really good plan. $57,000 for a 5 to 7 foot wide path. And we're talking about that half a mile area.
These costs are also gonna be like double.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and this one was $396,000. This was another full thing.
Paving it like a loop,
To do a loop.
to do it full, like
Yeah.
Margaret to Holloway.
And I think what-
Parkway.
So this,
Okay.
this is from our family stuff. And so this went around, but it would come around, just to give you an idea of where that would go. So one of the problem areas is right here. Because even now, it gets snow piled up in there. and
That's
people-
the muddy part, isn't it, in the spring?
No, it's right by the road and the snow gets piled up, so you have to walk over in order to get for the loop. So what I'm saying is that if this was redone, it would have to be redone and new culverts put in for 2 spots, and it'd have to come in. Other problem is that because it is a wetland, there's a 50-foot setback average is required, which means this right here is gonna have to go way over
Way over which
To
way?
get away from the
to
shoreline.
get away from the shoreline.
Okay.
A
50-foot setback from the lake or from the road?
from the lake.
Okay.
A 50-foot setback. And it's an average, so at some places we may be able to have a 25-foot setback, but that would be the minimum.
That's
Still be
DNR
moving.
standards,
That's watershed.
watershed.
Waiting, I mean, for parks, I mean, I would imagine that's a general rule for them. Is that a specific park rule or pathway?
It's wetlands. It's because Southwood is a wetland.
Sure,
It's for the wetland. It has nothing to do with park.
but but that pavement rule, I mean, is there a way to say, look, we're a park, and this isn't like, we're not putting a road in where there's, car oil coming off of it. Because that's a big issue with right there. This could be a walking path. It's only gonna be 6 feet wide. Is there a way to have a conversation with a variance or something like that? Because moving that over would change that a lot. Not that it would be the end of the world, because there's other trails in there, but. I don't know.
Another
It's-
thought, there's just brainstorming.
Yep.
Okay, so the lake around the lake, that might be tricky, but I know some of this is on not residential owners' houses. Like, what if there was segments, like,
No, there's no residential along here.
well, but on the back, like, not on these trails, but here's what I'm thinking, what you said about the sidewalk. So like, if you do a combination of a sidewalk outside of the park and some connecting trails, so like, let's say this was a paved trail and then the sidewalk around Margaret or whatever. I don't know the exact, the dimensions, but I'm saying, what if rather than the paved trail does this, what if it's a combination of sidewalks and trail, and maybe it becomes a mile loop, which actually would encourage walkers more, something that takes you through the park but doesn't encroach on the entire thing in the park, but would give somebody with a kid or somebody with accessibility issues a way to kind of go around the park, kind of like Silver Lake, how some of it's like on the houses, but some of it's, kind of through the, I don't know, just a brainstorm. If this isn't the right thing, I think we don't want to cut through.
We couldn't do that because that's a utility line. We have 2 utility lines here. This is utility and this is utility, so we can't do anything.
What's utility?
This is utility
Here, okay.
and this is utility, this diagonal one.
Okay.
For sure, it's electrical. I found that out this spring.
Yeah, and
Are
water.
there, I guess the question is, you don't have to take my pointing at things because I'm not as.
No, that's okay.
But are there ways, because I know that this part over here is kind of like right before houses, right? And then this part is a main road. And then I think houses back up over here, but like, is there a way to, like you said, combine sidewalk with maybe some intro to the park so that you can kind of get like a little taste of it, but not paving your whole loop and intruding on that like natural feeling in the park,
Well, again, the north end, we really don't have the ability to put anything in with that corridor going through there.
Okay.
It's that wide, that wide space that goes from, was it Southwood? What's the road?
Hallway?
Oh, no, not hallway. It goes from Margaret to what's the road on the east side?
Parkway.
Parkway.
Sorry, my brain was.
There's a wide
Way.
corridor in there. And it's a utility for sure, and it may even be some other types of utilities, like you said.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
water, there's a lot of stuff in there.
And there's also, the use, we were told way back when that there had to be able to be accessible. At one point, they were saying they would have to fly by there or whatever.
They do, they fly by
And they monitor whatever they have to do. with
oil
it.
or something.
Yeah.
Something liquid that comes up.
So the north end would be,
Not accessible.
no,
It was
it's
just
a
a
good idea,
thought,
but
but,
Well, no, it's an idea, and the idea could be, well, could we have something come off of here that at least people could, if we put something along here, could we have something that would come in here, for example, that would bring them in just a little ways?
or even tackle your trouble spots, you know, like if you think about, if you know there's a spot that's troublesome every year. The other thing I've been wishing for in the city, which has nothing to do with the paved trail, ironically quite the opposite, is cross-country trails. And I actually, when I bid on that house that was right on Southwood and I didn't get it, that was my thing, is I'm like, I'm just gonna take my cross-country skis and I don't care, I'll just go ski around this park. But,
Well, we do have people who cross-country ski and snowshoe too there.
but those muck areas would still be a problem unless they were addressed in, you know, like.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
no,
it's not gonna be a groomed trail.
No,
like, if
no.
that's what you-
No.
Yeah, they're making.
But
But we used to have a problem through here and we took care of that. I don't know if we used to have a little bit of a problem here. I'm not sure if we're still having a problem there or not. But
Mhm.
I thought the rest of it was doing pretty well.
So this is hard to do without kind of walking through the park too, but, I don't know, were we looking for a solution, right? What was the,
I don't think
this
so.
discussion, just to get Patty's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it came up in the meeting, we knew you were coming, so we wanted to make sure that this didn't get sprung on you. You came prepared and we all had a chance to just talk about it. I think it's gonna be an ongoing conversation.
Well, I can tell you that people who are in the park who talk to me are not interested in a paved trail. I can tell you that. And the only, and when I had people, I had a couple of people who had dogs who were asking me about, can we get, some chips down again? Because when I take my dog out, their feet get dirty. I didn't make that face.
You have a great machine.
I thought, okay.
well, that's like
What's
the
their
frog,
head?
it's like the frogs over at
Like,
Casey,
what
right?
are they
Oh,
doing?
yeah.
I don't want it. What
You
are
know,
they
muzzles?
using? Out of curiosity.
Muzzles.
No, they just wanted some chips put down because they didn't want their
No.
feet to get.
What about the
muddy.
people that are opposed to the hay?
The paved trail, what are the reasons? Aesthetic?
I don't know that they really said to me. I just think that part of it was they just feel like they're in nature when it's not paved. And we don't have that many places here to feel that way. And like I said, if we had 200 acres like Oakdale, I would say, yeah, let's figure out a way to do this. But
That's the
we don't.
perfect blend of paved and not paved. Oh, right, okay.
Right, but we don't have enough, and I hope it's on somebody's radar. I walked to Casey the other day and that trail is in really rough shape.
Yeah, somebody was just commenting last month. about that.
Yeah, it's really rough shape, so I hope that's on somebody's radar, so.
Can I ask this too, Kathy, like,
Yep.
if you were to do like a nature play, like think Tamarack or something, maybe not a
Yep.
big scale, but something like that, where would you put it? Where in the park where do you think that?
I'd say it'd have to go on the north end. I don't know where else it would go.
Like not towards Holloway or something?
You wouldn't put it in that prairie area?
No, definitely not.
Oh, God. That would go well.
So when you say north end, do you mean like up here?
I mean, up here, and I had,
Yeah, I know.
3 years ago, I had them really trim the trees back. That's when I was doing the Prairie Days stuff. And I said, if they would trim these trees back, it'd be a lot easier for the guys to mow. And they jumped right on that. And they trimmed everything. So there's a really nice shaded area up there now.
I wish I'd asked you this earlier, but do you have enough money to repair what happened with Minaj on the west side of the market?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. The only thing I can't repair is they destroy 50 plants that I had put in there. And I was hoping that some of them would make it and survive. I didn't find anything last year. There's stuff growing in there now, but I need to look at it more this year. The thing that, and I talked to, what's the engineer's guy? Morgan. Talked to Morgan because, well, someone had pointed this out to me and I went and looked, and the way it's been reconstructed is the water has to raise pretty high before it flows under Margaret Street. So it's gonna flood a lot. It's gonna back up a lot. And I asked him if he could look at it and see if it was doing what he expected it to do, and he said yes. But I was surprised because it looks to me like it has to raise pretty high before it'll flood out of it. Flow out of it.
Last question, Kathy, what about this area? By Parkway where that town is.
Right, that's my prairie.
Okay, that's a prairie too.
So you have the alternate, you have the prairie up front on Holloway, that's Savannah
That Oak
area,
Savannah, yep.
and then where else is prairie?
And then the Mesic Prairie is over here. And then this is, I call this the Upper Mesic Prairie.
Okay.
And this is the Upland Prairie. And this is the area that I started with because when we had people who were really focused on different areas, they said, I don't want anybody walking through my prairie. And I thought, okay, so I know, so I said bison walk through prairies, but nobody wanted to listen to me. So I took over this area and watched it for a couple of years, and just to see what was coming up, and then started managing it from there. And it's a really nice little prairie right now. And so I can take when I was able to take kids out and do stuff with them, I could take them in there, not have anybody whine.
Oh my gosh, we could have a little house on the prairie thing. We have a little house on the prairie.
Oh, right by the
The
mountain.
park.
Put it right on the
I'm talking about
mountain.
Oh, that would be over here, yeah.
You're doing a nice job because of deer. Running through my yard all the time. There's deer running through the neighbor's yard.
I live on Howard, so across from where Maplewood Middle School is going to be gone. And one day I looked outside, it was snow on the ground, and I said, those tracks look a little strange to me. What's that? I went out there, I had a deer end up in my backyard. Went in, turned around, and left. I think he got lost.
They were across the street from me, 3 houses down on Charles.
Yeah, met Casey too.
Yep. So it is kind of neat.
Yeah.
So I'm a birder, so I really enjoy the birds, and I'm just so glad that the shrub area is coming back. David Nelson had gone and chopped everything down. And I said, please don't, this is great birding. And fortunately, all that's coming back now, so.
Are there types of houses we could put on the north end?
Besides bluebird, is that your question?
Well, types of bird houses that we could put on the north end. I see a lot of monarchs though. Not the
Well,
chiefs.
that you want your milkweed, that you want your prairies. There's 2 areas that really have ever had much work as far as planting and trying to get the vegetation to change. And that's that area behind you. And the main thing is I've been trying to have Minnesota Native Landscape keep on the crown vetch. And if you're familiar with crown vetch, it was brought here and they were planting it on the sides of highways. It was 35 when I lived in Iowa. And after the first year, I said, that plant is going to be a problem. And it is. It takes over everything. The bees don't necessarily like it. So I've been trying to keep that out. but I haven't really moved to being able to plant other stuff that would be good for there. The other area that would be wonderful, but oh, so much work, is that wet meadow. It's got the richest soil in the entire preserve in there. But because of the reed canary grass, you have to work a couple of years. In fact, one person said, Kathy, you should just flood it. You want me to build a dam? But that would be another area that would be really nice, but down the road. I mean, you've got to have a good work group, and between COVID and everything else right now, it's just not the time to try to address those two areas. But those are the areas that we want to look at.
Kathy, where's the Eagle Scouts Timber Switch power?
It is right here.
Oh, yeah.
Really cool.
By that loop kind of?
Yeah, well, that loop really isn't there anymore, but it's kind of in the center
Oh, okay.
of that area. Because you wanted to keep it so that those chimney swifters could get into it. So it had to be enough away from trees.
Well, I see somebody on Facebook. It's right in here.
We do.
Yeah, right
It's
in here.
Friends of
It's almost,
Southwood
you
Nature
know, I can
Preserve.
see it.
Is your-
My information isn't on
Your phone number is here. Can I write that down?
Oh, sure,
Is that okay?
Any other questions for Kathy?
Thank you, Kathy, it was great meeting you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks for all
You
your
know,
work.
and
If you need anything else, fix that area on the west side. there. Come and see us and watch. Run through the books.
on the west side,
The whole reconstruction piece in there.
oh, off of Margaret Street. Yeah, well, that was kind of frustrating on my part, because when I saw they were going to do that, I asked the question right away, will you take care of the trail? Oh, yes, we'll take care of the trail.
Well, if it's any consolation, we had a discussion last fall. We had several community members come over. Did you want to know more?
Yeah, it's Tiffany.
Oh, Tiffany, yes, I knew about that.
Okay.
Well, she was real upset, because I was real upset when I saw what they did to all those plants that I started.
And we didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
No. Well, nobody did. That was part of the problem. And then everybody said, oh, we're so sorry, we should have gotten in contact with you. Okay, so no more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good to see you.
yes. Nice to see all of you too.
Yeah.
It's been so weird. And I keep going, when are we gonna get back to normal? And then I go, but what's normal? Have a nice day.
Thanks, you
Cheers,
too.
Kathy.
All right, we're done with A. A and B on 5. Public hearings, any public hearings? No. So we're on 7. B. Review event and meeting calendar.
There you go. So I looked at the calendar. I'm not sure why anything was in March, but I do have something reserved in spring. How do you guys feel about getting something planned?
I think we decided not to do the egg hunt this year. Back in, when we were booking the building, we had decided not to do it because we thought it was just coming up too close, but to leave the trick or treat trail in, thinking that maybe that could be something for October.
Is that book?
What,
Is the building book?
well, we had discussed it in November, that November meeting, to put dates on the calendar for potential reservations, and we did pick a date. I don't have that.
Yeah, it was, and I was gonna ask that because it typically was like the Saturday before, and so I had 2 dates because
I think we reserved those dates because we weren't sure. Forgot there was a reason we did that.
MEA.
Yeah, one of those is MEA. The weekend before, I think it's MEA, and then we have trouble getting volunteers and groups to actually come and participate in it. So then we thought maybe if we do it the 15th, we could get more people. But then I think there was hesitation of that. Is that too early to do a trick or treat trail? And we didn't want to do it the day before Halloween because then there's a billion other things going on. Although for volunteer reasons, it actually might be easier.
I didn't keep the numbers down. compared to
Well, the
the.
MEA never kept our numbers down, like, so I can't, like, because we always did it on MEA. Cause I remember joining the long when we did that.
Is that the 22nd? Is that the end?
What's at the top of the list? So we'll come back to treasury too.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
We won't jump around, we'll go straight
All right.
back. So I'll take this off. I think the spring cleanup is what Kathy will figure out. So we have our next meeting. June, music in the park. So I have 2 of the 3 contracts so far. Some of them one.
The empty pockets probably. They're on vacation right now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I'll make sure he gets a chance.
Okay, so you guys don't really do much with this. Our tree adoption is on again, so reservations will probably be around Earth Day. That will put that on the Park and Rec website for people to join, and then they will just drop those off. These are the meetings that we typically have at the park. So I don't know what you guys.
Don't we do May too?
We usually have May. Usually starts.
Or do we just say,
It's usually June, July, and August.
because of the wet, because of
Yeah.
daylight
Yeah.
and the cold?
We've done it before when we needed, like, when we felt like we needed to get to a park. I think we've done housing before we were in building with Casey before, like, I think we've done it when we wanted to get community feedback about that before we did it.
Right.
But I, you know,
So,
here.
any preference, what do you guys want to do?
Where's the next part that we're gonna tackle something at? This is that pickleball court.
Well, I think Housie is probably like one of the.
I think one of them needs to be downtown. Whatever we wanna call it, but like, and like, to maybe walk the lots and stuff. And potentially that could be inviting business owners instead of maybe residents, or we can invite people from the apartments or from some of those communities. I think it'd be good to at least survey what we have and see if anything feels like as a group that it's got potential.
Start here and then as well.
Yeah.
Or are you saying meet somewhere? down there?
Well, because it's a community meeting, we would have to invite the community, but I'd be fine to come earlier or something and just maybe walk some of the lots or maybe do that a different night or something. But I don't, it's just a thought. It'd be good to get some of the new residents and people who are now will have lived through maybe a car show or two and might have feedback of what they'd like to see, like now that we actually have some residents. Maybe that should be August though, since they lived the summer with some of the car show. That would be my suggestion.
So,
Maybe we just have some time to figure out what lot that is that we want people in, because I saw 2 in here.
yeah. So
One's right
is-
across the street.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize. This is a path of the center.
Yeah, it's just not big enough to put like a play structure or something.
But that would make sense if we met here and the community members meet us here. And then we went to the different spots and came back, because then we can all look at it all together.
Yeah.
And this is an easy to find spot.
Because I don't know what meeting was it that we found out we had a park that we didn't know about.
That was the part we didn't know about. That one across the street.
Great, okay.
Yeah,
Well, there's that weird triangle one that is on the other side.
yeah. And I didn't even know that was a lot. I just saw that in the first time, so.
Where's the old gas station? I always keep hearing about it.
It's next to the church, the New River Church.
Where they have all those things parked now.
During the car show, there was a
Big gas
big
station.
gas station.
Yeah, old
Oh,
truck and
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
petroleum pipe. So on the.
Petroleum.
On the south side, the south side of the road,
Like a mile down.
Okay.
the stop sign at,
Helen and.
seventh and,
Oh, last corner, that, yeah.
It's right where the road turns into it going up the
Blue
hill.
Hill, I found the last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
the like country kitchen, the like, whatever that woman's name, country kitchen is on the
Is
right.
that still a restaurant? Or-
Casey's.
Okay, so August Park, I guess I could send it as a walking meeting. So
Yeah.
people are prepared
Yeah.
that we are going to go down 7th. June and July.
Northwood, is Northwood the one with the building that, yeah, is that right, should we meet there?
I'd say they're Southwood.
Well, let's do both. Let's do Northwood and Southwood.
Same night?
No, no, no.
No, Halsey is in the middle there, so we don't have.
Yeah.
Well, I can change that one. It's just I left it in there, but-
Oh, because that's a good.
You can change Halsey, that's fine.
This is the real thing.
No, I mean, it makes sense to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Food truck, right?
Yeah.
Or, well, that's the other question, food truck night is still, I mean, we did that 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was really popular. He planned it all, so I don't know if someone would take on that responsibility. I mean, if there's someone from the city that would want to own that, or if there's someone on the commission that would. I have no connection to anyone who has food truck, so I'm about to.
I could possibly, because we work with the car show.
Yeah, I think that's what Keith did. He reached out to the car show people. It would be nice that people who want at the car shows.
If you get you the list, because we're talking, community ed was talking about putting together a family food truck night too. So if you give you the list, maybe I can do it. in my day job.
You already
email me.
Keith
Yeah.
did, and I don't think I still have it, a list of food trucks that we could use. Because I would like to try to get 1 or 2 for music in the park, because people always ask, can I have a food truck there? So we did it a couple times. It went really well.
But it changes every
The
year.
reason we always used food trucks that had already their license, they already have a license for the car show. Because that license is really prohibitively expensive. So a lot of them were like,
Well, and
if
if
you
they're,
already had that, then you were covered.
if they live in North St. Paul or do business in St. Paul. So that's why typically, using businesses that are
That's
from.
nice.
Yep.
Yeah, if you give me that list, I can,
But also. they're already paid.
And I can help you too.
I can help you with trucks.
Food trucks.
Daytime Laura will do it, not Parks and Rec Laura.
Before or after crafts.
Huh?
Before or after crafts.
Yeah, very.
All right. We got June, we got June?
We didn't do June, it was either Southwood or Northwood. And then do we want to add a September so you can get another one in?
September is too dark.
Yeah,
We've tried it.
okay.
That's my input. Every time we did September, we were done by 7 o'clock. It was dark and
Okay.
I was trying to get a meeting done in half an
Let's do
hour.
Southwood. We know what that building was.
Well, and then if we do food truck night, we could also get another band in there.
Oh,
Because that was, we had, I think.
the local one that plays.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name.
Nap and something.
No,
No, you had any day now.
any day,
Any
no,
day.
yeah.
Yeah, there should definitely be music there.
And that was fun.
I got one that's for Christmas.
My mom got one.
Okay.
My mom got it for me for Christmas.
June. I still don't have June.
Oh, it's. everything.
It's got-
So under
The
that,
bubble.
under that little thing is a screwdriver.
All right, all right.
I would say,
Where we at, Jill?
June is Southwood.
Southwood.
I don't hear any objections.
Nope.
Yep.
No.
Sounds good.
Southwood, because if we're
Sure.
talking paving trails. that's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So June, Southwood, July, Holiday, food truck, August, we will do walking.
Downtown.
We can always change this.
All right. What else do we have for- So September, there wasn't, I mean, but if you're saying that it's dark, it's too dark, and it's too close to school. Okay. So-
No, we could do it in the building.
Oh, Casey.
We could do Casey in the building,
Do you mean the meeting?
Yeah.
the meeting, because then it gets dark.
Yeah.
It's not an issue, but if
Sure, why
you
not?
There you go.
I remember we were at Dorothy
Yeah.
2 years ago. And 7 o'clock it was dark.
Yeah.
And it was on a Sunday.
If we do a meeting in Northwood, we would definitely get that building there very quickly.
We
Yeah.
should invite, we should invite the city council and the mayor.
Okay, so we'll do a September meeting, at Casey Lake in the building. Okay.
I think we still have to talk about that. Not tonight, no.
Alright. But no music in the park, because that won't work, okay. Follow dates, Star Watch.
I have not heard back from Mike Lynch. I don't know. I see his articles in the paper, so I know he's around, so I will contact him again. I see you have October 11th.
And I'm not sure why I picked that. I think it
Stop
was
on Facebook.
around.
Yeah.
the same day. It was like
I'm
a
on Facebook.
Tuesday.
That's kind of around when we had it scheduled for last year. and we canceled, So, okay, I will, send him another email.
All right, and we can, yeah, update that. And,
Here's another thought about October 15th, like, as we're getting there for this thing, is maybe we don't call it Trick or Treat Trail and we call it like the Fall Trail or something. We could also get small businesses or something else to,
We could do an equinox event, because that's the 21st.
so we could look at maybe retitling it or something. I don't know. I just,
Would
as we have,
it-
as we have the 2 days,
Would it
I-
still
I
be a
personally-
candy handout?
I think, yeah, I think so.
We're just tricking.
Selfishly, it's like, my kids are now school age, they weren't when we started this, like now, I wanna go somewhere in NEA and I can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, not that I wouldn't, but I'm the one who does that one, so selfishly, I'm like, it kinda sucks for me if like I'm gonna go north or something
MEA is that 20.
second, right?
Yep.
So I think maybe we just say the 15th.
I think on the calendar, I have the 15th as the date.
Okay, yeah. And then maybe we just look as we don't need to figure this out tonight, but as people mull it over, like maybe we retitle it. And maybe we invite local businesses, like I could see it being fun to have like people who are selling things or something and like maybe
Like a
more reasons to
craft fair.
stop
So
by.
not just hand that.
Not just because it's in church groups and girls have this handing out candy and as a way for them to promote their groups.
It was crazy. What did they do, Larry? You know, I moved in, 20 years ago? I vaguely remember them in the fall, they had huge bonfires and
Yeah.
stuff down there.
Big hayride.
Was it just a?
It was a hayride. Fire department.
We decided we didn't want to do hayride because
Somewhere
of
they
the
were
turnout
collecting
of kids
hotels.
we've had.
No.
And they
No,
found
whatever
out
gets
how
big.
they had the bonfire.
We could, yeah, well,
I don't know who was behind
Maybe
it
can we
or-
put this as a
Well,
topic?
stop.
Yeah.
This is the topic next month to discuss what the new Trick or Treat Trail is.
Heather asked me after the meeting going,
okay.
I'll fill you in.
Stillwater does like a pumpkin contest and then they do a pumpkin drop. Where they drop the like 1,000-pound pumpkins, and they have like a craft fair and food trucks and Stillwater. Well, we could do that.
Yeah,
like,
let's talk, I think
good.
maybe we need to recurtail it, because I
Yeah.
think the only issue we've had is we get a congestion of people. And then also like, it's basically geared at kids, and so as an adult, if you just an adult with dogs, you wouldn't feel like you could still walk that trail. So maybe we could do something that's more inclusive to all families, what they look like, and then, obviously people could still give out candy, or we could give out candy, I mean, if we're not doing. Gallagher said he would sponsor the event for $1,000 or $1,500, so.
We don't have to give stuff out. People just want stuff to do.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
they don't want to stare at each other's faces anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they can do it
exactly.
outside.
Next month, we'll talk about it. But I'd say the 15th, then that kind of keeps that, you know.
Oh, revamp it. You know, I,
Isn't that,
I've
isn't
never
that
seen
Thanksgiving? The Thursday, the November 23rd?
I don't think I have an
Yeah,
Usually
double
we
check
do
it.
it
We backed it up a week. Whatever it is, we backed it up.
idea. Okay. I don't know if there is, I will check.
This year we didn't have. to.
No, but we still did.
Yeah, we did the
We
third,
back it up
the
again.
third Wednesday versus the fourth.
And the 22nd, we can unofficially.
November 23rd is that Wednesday.
Because I was just randomly
Oh.
grabbing it. I would celebrate Christmas.
Do we need to bring that back?
Huh?
The bad Santa gift.
What about that volunteer? I don't know.
Deb used to do that, and it was like everybody, they'd give an award for like best, they would give a youth community award or like group.
It was just kind of a, like a.
With the
a
city ice
gathering.
cream social, like,
It was like an ice cream. social.
we didn't
Yeah.
have nothing to do with it, but we were
Oh,
invited because
gotcha.
it was basically all the commissions got invited. We would prefer alcohol though, if they're gonna do that.
Okay, all right. I will add that. I'm gonna research that.
You wanna appreciate us.
Really, used to have dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be better.
That was over.
Feed us. Line us down. Yep.
Okay.
It was just a way for the city
I think budget's got cut and
Volunteers.
it became ice
I've
cream.
been saving up.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said, I think budget's got cut. and it became ice cream.
Yeah.
And Jill said she's been saving up.
Yeah.
Let's have Newman sponsor it. That's
Yeah.
what-
There we go.
All right.
All right, where we at?
Okay, so, and we, you know, we can, if you guys wanna, we'll see how it feels at the end of the year. People are still with us. And then I just threw the fire and ice on there.
So
That would be
that's
23.
2022. We need 2023.
All right.
I will say there's this, there are like 3 people on Facebook who keep thinking like, is this happening this year? Each year for fire and ice. And I was like, no, but next year. So people are still looking for it.
Is
I get that with
is
the egg hunt
15th,
too, but-
is the 15th Martin Luther King weekend?
Yeah.
You want to do it on Martin Luther King?
So I think I picked that date. We can move that around too, it's just because I know like first week in January, I think it typically is always like negative.
Yes.
Except for the one-
So I moved it up a weekend, but I didn't realize that it was on the weekend.
We actually had a 30-degree day that
That's what's.
first year. It never.
You never know.
Cold morning.
Let's throw it on for the 7th.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Okay. What's next on the agenda?
That we pretty much took care of the April event,
Cancel, it. Okay.
old business, suggested that we schedule a meeting and just start talking about improvements, whether we want to start that on the next meeting, and just schedule that and just work on improvements and try to skip through everything else. For improvements for this,
Oh,
because it's gonna take up a whole meeting. Now, you want to start that next month?
so
And
you're
make it-
saying go through this whole thing?
No, well,
So just kind of.
decide where we're gonna start
Oh,
for
got it.
next week
Okay.
or for next year. But the rest of the meeting would be that
Yeah.
and jump through everything and nothing else on the agenda.
So let's back up a little bit. This is what Candace and I put together. It still needs to go through a workshop and then go to council. Are you saying that you want to change it?
No, I'm
No,
saying we
thank
were.
goodness.
No.
I'm out of here.
We were told-
Focus on.
We were told by Tim we could start.
You can start working, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
So that's what I mean.
Like what parks and projects.
Yeah.
So like, take all this information and then action steps.
Yeah.
Now we did it, what are we gonna do?
And I think it was just like kind of just bring this every meeting and
Yeah.
start working on it
Yeah.
and.
So do you want to do it a whole meeting or do you just want to take a piece of it?
I mean, I do want to take a second for this retreat trail. We could talk about this only because like I'm gonna be off for the next 6 weeks. So if I need to do a graphic or something for it, I gotta do it on home, not working. And
Okay.
But that's just personal. But that can be done at the end. But I think that's fine. We just need to make sure that there's no visitors, I guess. I mean, not public, but
Well, we'll keep them to 3 minutes. And then if nobody's got questions, then we move on.
anything ever been 3 minutes.
Yeah, yes, we did the other day, didn't we?
Right.
Because when I asked you guys the other couple meetings ago, everybody was receptive to, I'll tell the person, you got 3 minutes to do your discussion. And then we're done, and you guys can ask questions, and it'll go as long as you guys ask questions, otherwise.
I would like to start. decide more.
Okay,
Jill, does the city have access, like, I would like to have like a bound copy of this. I'm not asking for you all to pay for it necessarily, but do you all have a vendor or someone that could
Yeah.
find it for us?
I was
And we
thinking
can
the
put,
same thing.
and we can put like a laminated top and bottom because
Yeah.
you're gonna have to bring this every
Yeah.
meeting. Okay.
Right.
Oh, maybe we could use some budget money to pay for it for ourselves.
Do it.
To have it done.
make a motion.
Oh, can I make a motion?
Sure.
And then maybe put some extra blank pages at the end.
Oh, yeah, no,
All
Yep.
that stuff.
I want a pretty covered.
Yeah. No, I want to bring.
Letters.
Okay.
No, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Way more
Name on my
functional.
copy?
Yes.
I make a motion to spend no more than $500 creating hard copies or long-lasting copies of the park improvement plan for all commissioners and
Park and Rec commissioners.
yeah, park and rec commissioners.
active?
all active,
Okay.
park and rec commissioner, and staff liaison.
And,
Got it, Jill?
and Tim.
And
Our
council
council
liaison.
liaison.
yeah, pertinent parties.
Got it, Jill?
So. I'm gonna add in there
Hold on, I'll do it.
I was
Yes,
just gonna say,
final,
you're
final,
suggesting
yeah.
there might be changes to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the final.
Final.
Before the comp,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get it when it's.
And if you want to email me off the record about coordinating that, you can.
So what do we got for the motion? You got the motion?
Our motions to spend $1,500 on hard copy final park improvement plan to all active PRC members, liaisons and staff.
Do you think we can cover it?
No, I don't. I think it needs to, not hard copy,
Laminated.
No, it's,
like, but bound, like,
yeah, no, you can, yeah.
I
you
can find it at Chris's office. I mean,
oh, you can? I don't know how, I
yeah,
know
it's
that.
not- it's 500 would be
I
more than
think
enough.
Okay, 500
Yeah,
would be more.
yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's $50.
Okay, not like the whole thing doesn't have to be laminated, just like
No,
a
just
cover.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, let's do a paper.
Yeah.
School district charges us a racket.
Um,
All
I,
right.
they,
We have the
I
contract.
understand it's possible.
Okay.
All my college projects.
We have the contract yet, or do, how do you, who does this for us?
We'll probably just send it,
Okay.
send it out.
All right,
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
second,
A second.
is there a second discussion? All in favor, or since it's money, raise your hand. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any other old business?
Hey, we spent some money.
Got one.
And I was the first one to do it.
Reports from staff, open meeting laws?
I think we kind of went through, since there's a couple here, I think that haven't heard. So it's every Wednesday, I will send out an email. Just respond back by Thursday, whether you're gonna be here, not here, or online in a public place. You can always attend online, but then you can't vote. So then I just have to get that on the agenda, and then post that so people know where you are.
Can you remind me that, like, is there a can be online and can vote situation, or no? That's never happened.
As long as you're
So
in
what
a
is
public
considered
place.
public place?
Um,
McDonald's?
libraries, coffee shop.
Okay.
So
okay.
is your,
As long
does
as
the
it's-
sidewalk outside your?
I was just gonna say, in front of your house.
It's not.
I would guess if they can get to you.
Yes, the sidewalk. I will be on the sidewalk.
Oh,
outside.
And I don't think you want to be on a sidewalk alone in front of your house. But you can- the whole point of it,
So is that the issue? The public safety gotta be able to have
I have to
access
have
to
to
it?
have access.
What
to-
if you're like in a hotel, like in Mexico or something?
Well, that's quite
The
nice.
mayor has, that's, why they said the mayor did that, the lobby.
There you go.
Okay, so they can't necessarily access you.
No.
Somebody can.
Just any public.
If they
If
want
they
to
want
fly to
to.
Mexico.
Yeah, that's why it's on the
Good thing we censored this whole
It's
thing.
on, it's on the agenda, so we'll have
Okay.
time to get to you. So
Okay.
it's.
We'll just tell them where you're at.
Maybe that'll be me next month.
All right.
I have a
Now I
translator
gotta
here
make
for
the
you.
lawyers work a little harder. to
Anything else from the
Yeah,
open laws?
I think that's it.
Any questions on it? Any reports from commissioners?
I still have one other thing.
Go ahead.
So the next thing for the park is the workshop. And so when I talked to the city manager, he's like, probably need someone to talk about it, present it. A PowerPoint would be nice. The workshop is next Tuesday, so I probably have to get it into the packet by tomorrow. Yeah, it's kind of. it's looking like a-
Who's gonna be available to attend it?
For what? What?
The workshop.
When is the workshop?
It would be next Tuesday from at
Definitely not
6
me.
o'clock.
But the next Tuesday.
I'm in Mexico.
Can we move it back?
Yeah.
You know what you can do? Call
You
in
need
some
a
more
lobby.
money.
And I work on better because then we can do like a PowerPoint, get kind of a summary of the packet. And then, a couple of people.
Usually at like 4 o'clock or something. At the workshop,
It's at 6.
6?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's 'Cause I
So
won't be in.
the other thing would just be to push everything back 2 weeks, and the next workshop would be the 15th, and then it would go.
Okay. Is anybody available the first choice?
Is that, what do you mean?
That's what, that's.
Next week.
Next week. Is anybody available next week to attend? Or should we just push it back? Push it back?
Push it back.
Push it back.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go workshop not on next Tuesday, the 15th. That will give us give me some time to put that out. Okay.
6 p.m.
So do I have a couple volunteers to do like the broad idea of?
Did you move it to next week?
Yeah.
Or is it?
No, it's
No,
not 15.
we'll have about 2 weeks to get that done.
Okay.
If it's the next week, let me know. I know it's a day Monday.
Yes, I'll be available to do, I'll be available to help present.
Okay.
So,
Do you need help with PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Then I can help you.
And that can we
Jill and I can handle unless someone else wants to volunteer, otherwise
I
I'll.
can make a PowerPoint for you. I can't be there. I can make a PowerPoint. But
I can't make any.
so just to clarify, I mean, usually the person who's presenting should be there. You shouldn't have a stranger make you a PowerPoint. And that's the person. So, but I could make you one.
And it might work
Yeah.
that you have a PowerPoint and Candace is there because she
Yeah, I
did a
know.
lot of the wording.
Yeah.
She has an idea of like how.
So
So
You and
and
me
I
gonna
work
meet?
on the PowerPoint and then you, Candace, and any other volunteers that want to come to the workshop at 6 p.m. on the 15th.
and then what would happen? We would just describe what's in the.
Yes.
I can let you know how I'm feeling, but I just don't. I'm sorry. I mean, it's for a plan.
You're gonna get a lot of drugs,
Oh.
you're gonna have a lot of drugs at this point of your recovery.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so it's. Somebody else wants to just get hold of Jill.
Okay.
I'll help, I'll be at the 15th and you and I can
We'll
quickly
schedule
talk,
a-
well, we can talk now,
Sure.
8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Is, I'll drop by or I'll email you. How's that sound? Okay. Any report, anything else, Jill, on that?
I don't know, I don't know if everybody else has full time now, so you can call me. 4:30, 4:30, that's
Congratulations. Who's full time?
I missed, oh. good.
Yay.
Yay.
So, yeah, so that restricts me to like, quick, tell me between 11:30 and 6.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
All right. Any reports from anybody? Let's go around the room. Heather? Anything? Sarah?
Nope.
Laura?
Look,
Larry?
I'm like, no.
No? Nope. Nope. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Sarah, second.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
I asked
All
that.
right, I mean, it's,
It's the parliamentary procedure. for this.